This is the Lumix S5 2X, a full frame powerhouse of a camera that can shoot 6K open gate, can do RAW. This is the Lumix S9. It can also shoot 6K open gate with a full frame sensor. And another thing that they now both have in common is that they have no record limit. Yes, I said no record limit. Lumix has listened to a lot of people's complaints about the S9, and aside from being able to add an eyepiece, which they can't really do, and that's fine with me, they've given us what we all wanted. Now I know we were all hoping for Lumix to launch the brand new S1H2 or their new flagship camera. Unfortunately, we still have to wait a little bit longer for that, but what they have given us is an updated S9. They've updated both the S5 II and the S5 2X firmware, which we'll get into, and they've given us a brand new lens that honestly pairs really nicely with the S9. As well, they've also launched new features in their Lumix Lab app, where you can now remotely control your camera with the Lumix Lab app. So lots to talk about, some good, some maybe not as much as we'd hoped for. Now, before we go too far, if you guys have been watching this channel for a while and you haven't yet subscribed, well, we are so close to 100,000 subscribers. So it'd mean a lot to me if you guys click that subscribe button, but let's move on to the content. When the Lumix S9 was launched, there was a lot of stink on the internet about what this camera had and what this camera didn't have. Obviously, they cannot redesign this camera and put an eyepiece on it, but it sits perfectly in the market with tons of other competitors and beats those competitors quite well. I actually highly recommend you watch this video from my good friend Josh, who compared a Sony and a Lumix, and the Lumix kind of slays it, to be honest. But there's a lot of potentially Sony bias just based on people liking the brand, and there's nothing wrong with liking the brand. But a lot of people judge this based on limitations. And what I think's amazing about this video and why I'm making this video is because Lumix actually listens to its customers. We are all pretty upset that they put time limitations on this camera, and now they've said, all right, you want it, we're gonna take it away. Just be aware, don't use it at 104 degrees Fahrenheit or above for longer than 10 minutes, or you might actually burn your hand, or be careful. And I think that that's a pretty powerful thing for a camera brand to do, is to listen to their customers and their non-customers on the internet and give them what they want without waiting to launch a new camera. To me, that's kind of cool, and a beauty of maybe the potential small and nimbleness of what Lumix is right now, is the ability to listen and make rapid changes that their customers really want. Some additional updates that Lumix has given you as well in the S9 is now you can have up to 3 different frame markers in camera while you're shooting. If you've never shot with open gate before, it utilizes the full width of your sensor. So then having the ability to put frame markers to showcase whether you want to shoot 16:9 or you want to shoot 9:16, you can now see visually while you're filming what's going to be within those frames and what's going to be outside those frames. Super clever, something that a lot of us have wanted for a long time, and even if you didn't know you wanted it, it's kind of cool. They've also updated the autofocus features, and someone who is an automotive photographer, they've given us more options to focus on the whole car or just the front of the car, and you can do this with planes and trains and cats and dogs and all those, so pretty much everything. And ever since, honestly, Lumix has introduced the phase detect autofocus system in their cameras, these things are fantastic, and I have had zero issues with them. Additionally, with some updates now to the Lumix Lab app, which we will get into later, you can now control this camera remotely, and it's pretty cool how much you can actually do from that app. One of my favorite things about this camera already was how well it pairs with the Lumix Lab app, so I can get videos like this without doing any editing, and I can send it directly to my phone. Same with photos, and you can create photo styles. Honestly, it's really unique and genuinely makes being a content creator better, faster, smoother, which is kind of what we all want, I think. Also at launch though, they did commit to releasing this lens here, which is the 18-40, and this lens is pretty darn cool if you guys are into having a small pocketable size. Pairing this lens with the Lumix S9, it makes a really tiny compact system. The focal range of this new lens is 18-40, and the aperture is variable between 4.5 and 6.3. But what Lumix has done that's pretty fantastic is they've kept this to be, I think, the smallest and lightest weight variable focal length that you can actually get on the market. Now, something that caught me off guard when I got this lens is that you can't actually use it in this form factor. You have to essentially open the lens up to now what is the 18mm, and then you can move from 18 to 40. Now it's actually not that big of a deal. I don't actually mind it. And once it's open, it kind of stays at that same kind of distance from each other. So if you're mounting it on a gimbal, it's going to stay essentially the same weight. But some great things that they've done with this lens is they didn't compromise on quality in a lot of ways. In one of those ways, you have a metal mounting plate here and it's still weather sealed, and you still have a manual focus ring, which is great, and an AF/MF switch. So to get all of that quality into a really compact and affordable lens is pretty great. The focal ranges that it covers, I think, is a good range for anyone that is kind of starting in photography or videography, which I think is who the S9 is kind of pushed towards, is social content creators, people that want to vlog. So that 18mm focal length is fantastic for vlogging, shooting yourself, and then everywhere up to 40mm, you kind of get some really great focal lengths. So 35mm is one of my favorite focal lengths. So it's included in this tiny compact lens. Now, if you want to move up the price range and just go straight to the S5 II or S5 IIX, which are very, very capable cameras, the S5 II and the S5 IIX have gotten firmware updates as well. So now they've unlocked Lumix Lab support for your S5 II, S5 IIX. They've unlocked 5 gigahertz transferring speed so that they're compatible with the app, which is awesome. You get a new Leica monochrome profile on this, which if you're into that is super cool. I've tried it out a little bit. As well, they've now given us access to our real-time LUTs. So as you can see here, this is a flat color profile, and these are my LUTs that I've built for Lumix, and I can import these LUTs into my cameras and I can just shoot directly onto them. Again, what makes the S9 a bit of a powerhouse is the quickness and how agile I can be creating content for social media or for YouTube. It's pretty awesome. Now with the Lumix Lab, you're also able to do remote shooting. So you can control the settings on your camera and you can control the shutter. Now I know Sony also just released this with their cameras, but Lumix is right on their heels. So pretty impressive what Lumix is doing. And this is mostly why I'm making this video, is I'm just impressed by Lumix adaptability, quickness, nimbleness, and the fact that they give us, the consumer, what we want. It's incredible that they have a direct line of communication with the people that use their cameras, and they actually implement those needs or wants, I guess is what it really ultimately is. Now, as someone who is a Lumix user, I have a wide range of knowledge on the Sony cameras and the Canon cameras because I've practically used them. A lot of people hate Lumix cameras that honestly haven't put their hands on one. And what I tell people that are interested in the Lumix brand but aren't really ready to pull the trigger yet, go rent one. It doesn't really hurt you to go rent one and actually get a feel for it and actually try it out. That way you're actually judging a book by what you've read and rather than its cover or what people like me on the internet say. So go test it out for yourself, make your own judgments, but I'm really, really excited about what Lumix is developing. And like you, I'm really excited for when they actually drop their new flagship, which I don't know when that will be. But for those of you who are on the fence about the Lumix brand, I'm a fan. I think they do pretty good. I'm a fan of like Sony and Canon and Nikon, and because everyone can make good content with like the phone that's in their pocket now. So it's really just what feels like home to you. What do you enjoy creating with? Use that tool. And now Lumix has given you more tools inside of their tools that are wildly affordable and incredible. So if you guys are on the fence, feel free to leave comments down below with any questions and I will do my best to answer them for you. Thanks as always for watching, and I hope that this has answered some questions for you. If you guys did like this video, please give it a thumbs up for me. Consider subscribing to the channel, and you might like that video there. So I do hope I will see you guys in the next video.